All right. Looks like we are going live. I see the red box live and the counter ticking. Let me go ahead and say welcome everyone to another installment of Get a Clue in 52. Happy Friday. Let me welcome Sue into the StreamYard. Hello, Sue. How are you? Welcome to the studio, as it were. It's so fun to say that. Like when I was growing up, welcome to the studio was like this big deal. Now it's like our home office. I'm not blurring my screen today because I'm in a very Final Four mood. I've got the shirt on. I've got the hat on. I've got the Final Four thing behind me. I've even got the Final Four cup. And this is because not only, I'm still super proud of San Diego State University, my alma mater, and now my current employer for making it to the Final Four. Not just the Final Four, but we won on Saturday, played for a national championship. It's still so amazing. But last Sunday, I got to interview 7 players from men's basketball because one of the players is a student in my class. So as part of an alternate assignment, we created an interview program as part of extended office hours and turned the student from a student into a guest speaker who recruited 6 other guest speakers to be right anyway. And then we got to relive it and talk about it, and not just Final Four and the athletics and the sport and the excitement, but organizational communication. Right, they're members of organization that interact with other organizations that are highly sophisticated at highest levels of production quality and national attention and so forth. So it was really fun to pull their expertise out of them on Sunday.
Excellent.
Yeah, it was really fun. And we got, I'm still beaming about it. You can tell. But then, so just that in and of itself, like even if I wasn't a professor, even if I didn't have a student in my class, even if I didn't get to interview the team, I would just be thrilled beyond belief that my alma mater made it to the championship game, right? How exciting. But all of that other stuff too. And, life doesn't happen to us. Life happens for us. And it's up to us to seize the opportunities and the joy and the magic of it all. So I'm still kind of beaming about all of that as we get into Get a Clue in 52. And let me transition into why we're really here today. But also just that, symbolically, I've got 4 days left before the semester's done. 4 days left. So today, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then Tuesday's our final exam period where last time I see my students face to face, and it's going to be kind of cool, right? It's going to be celebratory, and it's going to be really cool. It's going to be a little emotional for me because I've put so much into teaching the course this semester. I've had 19 guest speakers come into the class. I took chances in the progressive ideas that I had for creating the learning journey. I wanted to see how much there was a place for a world-class coach at the head of a classroom. And am I really a professor, or am I a coach and mentor and facilitator? And I was leaning towards this other side. But still rooted in the student learning objectives and still, keeping integrity with the academic principles, but taking chances, being progressive, asking students to think for themselves, trust themselves, believe in themselves, make decisions rather than just being spoon-fed what to do. And then, right? Especially as they're seniors, especially as they've got one eye on their career, they're interviewing their resumes and so forth. I didn't feel that they were really interested, and if some of them were, they could have. But going into the library and doing a 15-page research paper with 10 sources in APA format, I mean, they'd already done enough of that in their college careers. As an upper division elective, I wanted to get them ready for the real world. So I've got 4 days left in that whole experience, and it's been wonderful to come here every Friday as I've been so immersed, like scuba diving, immersed in what I've been doing on campus at San Diego State, teaching 2 classes of organizational communication to college level seniors with all of the school pride and all of the wonder of being back on campus and all my nostalgia triggered and all my gratitude for how I've grown up and who I used to be there and who I am now. And it's just in my face every day. And so I'm in this place in my life of wanting to give back. And this is what Get a Clue in 52, this edition of it, is all about, is for coaches, myself included, right? So I feel like I've grown enough to be able to give something back to the coaching community and the coaching profession. But I'm still learning. I'm a student in my classroom every week. So I bring somebody in and the students teach me something, or I learn something from the guest speaker. And I don't think I have students. I think I have classmates. And I've got 4 days left in this semester. And as I've been literally lost, all in giving my students and getting everything out of it that I get out of it, putting everything into it, I can get into it, leading the way for them, and on and being available. And it's like, oh yeah, I've got this Get a Clue thing. Oh yeah, I've got this integrity game thing. I got this other stuff that I'm doing too. So it's been refreshing to be here every week on a Friday, celebratory Friday after a really good, strong, committed, dedicated week. To remind myself that, yeah, I'm a world-class coach too, and I got a coaching practice too, and I've got licenses and certification opportunities for people that want to be able to coach and mentor and train soft skills in the world the way I do. And it's just, anyway, I got 4 days left in this semester, and it's just refreshing to be here on a Friday. So I'm in a Final Four kind of mood. I'm all about it today. The banner, the hat, the shirt, the cup. These are the final 4 days before this semester ends. That's my intro, my colorful intro.
Very cool.
And it's supercharged. Like, I'm a big fan, right? But here I was interviewing players from the team, including the player that hit the big shot that's got all the notoriety. And what a team they are. What a collection of mature individuals making sacrifices for one another and being there for each other. It was so special. I got to figure out what my leeways are with the university and all of that, before I can just make the video public and share it with people. I got to figure out that I'm on solid ground there. But as an academic assignment and in online office hours, it was really refreshing. So here we go. We want to go ahead and get into today's tip reading. And in 17 weeks leading up to today, I would review every single tip leading up to. I'm not going to do that today. What I am going to do is welcome everybody to Get a Klu in 52 for coaches, myself included. I mentioned it's as much mentoring as it is memoir, because as I was writing it for emerging and aspiring coaches, I realized how much I was reminding myself of how much I need to learn still, and how many of these things I'm still struggling with. The struggle's real, and we want to get real about all of it. Of course, everything I do is dedicated to my family. I wake up every day and I figure out how I'm going to deserve my wife and kids. Next thing I know, I'm out of bed helping people as much as I can to feel like I deserve. I'm a lucky dude. I'm a lucky dude. All right. I want to give a shout out to Troy Hoffman, who wrote the foreword for the book. Thank you, Troy. He's a stellar gentleman and an icon of knowledge and personal and professional growth. If you squeezed his arm, like 6 books worth of content would come out of his ears. Troy Hoffman, you're the best. Thank you, my friend. Thank you, Sue. All right. And I'm not going to review all of these tips that had Kluby snacks to back them up that got us here. I'm just going to quickly tell you that the first section of this book, there's 5 sections in every Get a Klu tips book, 52 tips broken out into 5 sections. The 5 sections here are self-promotion. So I'm quickly scrolling through the 11 tips supported by some Kluby snacks that we had in the category of self-promotion. From psychological tips, like the mindset around being able to promote oneself, getting honest about why you're doing it and who your customer is, and getting away from your process and all the brilliance of what you've learned, and really focusing on what's important to the marketplace and the prospects, and all the mindset stuff, to the practical, tangible tips of like networking questions and dynamics on preparation for public speaking, and the tactical strategy, or the strategy of complementary coaching, and then the tactics of 2 sessions instead of 1, etc. All of this, being able to offer demonstration and proof that what you're promoting is actually believable, viable, credible. And that leads us to the section that we're in now, which is 9 tips on engagement or enrollment. So we go from promoting ourselves as a coach, to now we need to enroll clients in coaching programs. We need to get coaching clients. We need to make money as a coach, or else we're not going to be coaching very long unless we get dedicated to just being all volunteer and service-based, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if we're talking about building ultimately, which we'll talk about in the last section of the book, building a practice, building income earning, building a profession, building a business, right? Then we have to start enrolling clients in coaching programs. And so that's what this section of tips is all about. Now, in between self-promotion, engagement, enrollment, and the last section, which is practice building, the 2 sections in the middle are the content of coaching: motivation plus accountability equals results. And that's the tagline, by the way, for my book that I wrote last year, The Integrity Game. And back to what I was talking about in the classroom, it's a treat to have the integrity game living and breathing in the classroom as required reading at San Diego State right now. The students have been amazing integrating that and getting deeper into the textbook than they might have otherwise, because of how thoroughly this engages us with who we are and what we're doing, and provides the motivation and accountability. And that's the middle content of Get a Klu in 52, is tips on motivation. How do we motivate people once they've enrolled in coaching? And then how do we hold people accountable once they've enrolled in coaching? This isn't just for coaches. All of this applies to other forms of leadership as well. And but we're going to have a hard time leading anybody unless they're engaged in our leadership, unless we get permission to lead, or unless we're going to have a hard time coaching anybody unless they're paying, enrolling in coaching programs. So that's what these tips are all about that, the section that we're in right now. So tip number 12 overall, but the first tip in this section was the mindset piece. It's all about you or it's not about you. We have to bring that into integrity. We have to bring that into balance. We have to make peace with the reality that as a service provider, when we're doing the customer service job, it is all about them. But when we're doing business development, marketing, sales, CEO, chief financial officer, all the other boxes in our org chart, it's all about us. It's all about the business. It's all about secure your mask first and sustain, getting income for the business so the business can grow so we can help more people. When we're actually providing the help, it's all about them. But when we're growing our business, it's all about us. And so we have to resolve that in our minds when we get ready to enroll. We can't be so all about them that we forget to confront them on the decision that they're going to make about whether or not to enroll in coaching. So it's all about us. It's not about us. We have to bring that into balance and make peace with that. Number two, the second tip in this section, which was 13 overall, is to set expectations, all of them closely related to tip number one. There's a theme that runs through all of them, is you have to set the expectations, from the easy expectations like 2 complimentary sessions. You only get the second one if you like the first one. And the first one, you should budget 90 minutes. And the second one, you should budget 60 minutes. And it's best if we do Zoom. That way we can screen share if we need to, and you can make a recording. And so you're setting all of these expectations to help them visualize. But if you fail to set the expectation that at the end of the second session, you're going to be asked if you want to enroll in coaching. I'm going to ask you if you want me to be your coach at the end of the second session. If somehow, some way you don't set that expectation, you're building a mansion on top of quicksand. You're not being 100% honest, which means you're not 100% committed to the prospect. Ding, 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 ding. You have to be 100% committed. You have to believe in yourself 100%, including setting the expectation that at the end of 2.5 hours of coaching, 90 minutes for the first session, 60 minutes for the second session, I'm going to ask you if you want me to be your coach. And if they say, okay, cool, go. Right now, you're moving on much stronger ground to move forward on everything. Both people are excited, and right, you gotta confront it right away. For those of you that are hesitant to get into the salesy part of it, there's nothing. Sales is a 5-letter word, not a 4-letter word. Okay. So anyway, that's what we're talking about, is paving that runway. Now, the third tip in the section, 14th tip overall, is to build authentic rapport. And authentic rapport is not just like walking into somebody's office and saying, hey, I see a Final Four banner on your mantle. I love basketball. And now we're in rapport, right? So sign here. It takes work. It takes dedication. It takes skill. It takes active listening. It takes appreciative inquiry. It takes a bunch of things to really build authentic, genuine rapport. So what if there's a systematic approach? So what if there's strategies and tactics that you'll execute along the way? If you mean it and you want it, then you'll build it authentic, and they'll believe it and they'll feel it and they'll agree with you when you ask something like, hey, Sue, are we in rapport right now? Sue, do you believe that I know who I'm talking to right now? Do I have a sense of who you are, how you got here? And, we're going to talk about where you want to go, but at least do you feel that I've got a sense of who you are and how you got here? Did you guys hear that? Right? If you do the work, you can ask that question as authentically as the rapport you want, right? Okay, moving forward. And it's really important, right? Because you want to be in rapport, because the next set of questions you're going to ask are going to be more difficult. So you want the most honest answers you can get to the next level questions. So you want to make sure that there's some rapport, some liking, some listening, some I hear you, that you're building all of that on. Okay. And there's a Kluby snack here, right? I want to be invested, like an investigator that wants to keep going further and further with, there's a typo there, but with each layer of truth revealed until the problem-solving facts have been found. So I'm asking and asking and asking questions, right? And you guys can read the tip and get into the specifics of how we build authentic rapport. But part of it is our ability to ask core questions and follow-up questions and keep asking questions until we see a map that evolves for us and that we feel a readiness to move on in that complimentary session. And when we move on, the tip that we present is around the question that we ask. And CICR is 4 slices. Most coaches know that you got to peel the layers of the onion to get to the core root. You got to move some stuff away. Most coaches know that, right? But if you say, well, how do you peel the layers of the onion? What are the techniques? Do you have a strategy? Do you have a framework what are the slices that you make into that onion before you peel it? And the 4 that I offer are change, improve, create, remove, which are 4 forms of difference. So if the palm of my hand was different, it breaks down into change, improve, create, or remove. What are the things in our life that are permanent? We can't get rid of them, but they don't look good, so they need to change, and they're not going to change on their own. We need to change them. What is working in our life that we want to increase, invest, improve upon? What isn't in our life at all that we need to create or bring into our life? And what's the toxic stuff that we need to remove? So if we can help, most people have never been asked what needs to be different in your life. What are the 3 most important things that need to be different? Most people have never been asked that. So they might go into a little bit of shock or deer in headlights when you ask. And so it helps to take 4 very nonviolent slices into that onion so that the prospect can peel their own onion and actually access answers to this really big question. We have been desensitized to the question in our coaches training. We ask all the time, what are the most important things that need to be different? We've been asked as we've submitted ourselves to multiple coaching sessions through our trainings and through our experiences and always having a coach on hand, etc. We are always asking the question, what needs to be different? But our prospects aren't. So we need to help them. We need to have a readiness for that. We can't suffer from the curse of knowledge, which is where we're so familiar with the question that we're asking that we forget what it's like not to be familiar with that question. So scissor, C-I-C-R, are the 4 slices into the onion that we all know we need to peel. It makes it easier for the prospect to peel the onion, not for us. We want to make it easier for the prospect to access answers to the question, what needs to be different? And so we've got a Kluby snack on this one. Most coaches know, right, that they need to peel back the layers of the onion. Yeah. So I don't even need to read my own prompts. This stuff is just in my head. So isn't it interesting? Do you see that pattern, by the way, from week to week where I'm just speaking stream of consciousness and then I go to a banner and it's written there already, or I'll go and I'll read something and it just oozes out of me. It's a very fun process, right, to understand how connected I am to this content, which, it's fun to put it out here in this format free every week, but it's even more fun when people come into the group mentoring or get a seat in the training or want to get a license or a certification, right? But I'm just talking about my fluid ability to mentor, coach, and train on this material. It's that, it's fun for me to be reminded of it because I've been so immersed as Professor Kluback for 4 months. But it's nice to be reminded on a weekly basis that I'm world-class Coach Jeffrey, right? And so here we go. After we get answers to these questions of what needs to be different, we have to do the extra work of finding out how bad, right? Most people will answer what's safe, what's convenient, they'll dip their toes in the water in the face of change. Like, I've coached people for like 6 months for money before they told me what they really want to work or admitted what they really want to work on, right? Sometimes it takes a while, right? But ultimately, leverage is associating the prospect to the pleasure of changing and taking action, the pain of the status quo or doing nothing, right? We have to get them associated to what's really at stake. What are they really missing out on, or what are they really inviting for themselves, all right? Most people never ask them, and they may be thinking about it. They may be thinking about it in the back of their mind, but life just keeps going. And so the busyness of life prevents people from addressing the consequences of their actions or inactions. And so that's a huge role for us, is to say, well, what do you want and how bad do you want it? What needs to be different and what happens if it doesn't get that way, right? And associate and really hold ground and make people realize, help people realize what is truly at stake if they don't take action towards what they want. They don't change, improve, create, or remove these 3 most important things, right? And right, people will never change their habits, patterns, peer groups, or addictions, let alone hire a coach, if they are not super clear that the status quo is more harmful than the work of change. That's the key. We have to help people get clear that the status quo, the current pattern and set of behaviors, is more harmful than the work, the discipline, the willpower, the sacrifice of change. That's our job. And if we don't give them a taste of that in the first complimentary coaching session, we're not really giving them the full test drive or the thorough little pink spoon of Rocky Road if we're not getting them associated, right, to the reality that the status quo is more harmful than the work of change. And now that takes us to last week. So once we've got that, once they're like, oh, yeah, God, I'm really in trouble if I don't change that. Or, man, I've gone without that joy for too long. I deserve that. I'm going to do what it takes to go get that, right? Whatever it is, when we've got them associated to the pleasure or the pain, now we're ready to assign homework. Now, like if you're willing to do something about it, well, let's see. And now we want to give them a homework assignment. And the degree to which they commit to this homework assignment is a sign that they're coachable, that they're willing to introduce a new behavior, have some discipline, and we're paving the road to get to show them the accountability that we're ready to provide in the coaching session. Because if they agree to do a homework assignment, now we got something to hold them accountable for. There's so many coaches out there in the world trying to build their coaching practices without assigning homework and offering a second session. So the prospect never gets a test drive of accountability, what it's like to be held accountable, maybe confronted, maybe conversed with, maybe broken through. Like you can provide a breakthrough session and help somebody see something they couldn't see, understand something they couldn't understand, believe something they couldn't believe, and all of that's valuable. And a lot of coaches even get hired just doing that because it's so valuable. But how on earth are you going to give somebody the taste of accountability, the sample of accountability, the test drive of accountability without assigning them a homework assignment, dismissing from the session, coming back and seeing if they're willing to schedule and show up to a second session and then asking, yes or no, did you do your homework? And we have more to say about that as we progress, but that's that you understand the future value of assigning homework, okay? So as you're progressing through this first complimentary coaching session, let's review. You've set the expectations. Now you're conducting the session. The first thing you do is build rapport. The second thing you do is you use scissors to peel the layers of the onion and help the prospect peel the layers of the onion. You get to agreement on the 3 things that need to be different, and now you're ready to assign homework. Now, I'm going to go ahead and pick it up from here with a tip number 18. And it flows right in. Page number 75 if you're following at home. Here we go. Tip number 18, schedule a second comp or parentheses decision session. Here we go. 99% of the time, the homework, right? Remember, tip number 17 is assign homework. And I didn't go in, by the way, just real quick before I start reading word for word, I'm about to say in the first sentence of tip 18 what homework I assign. The reason that I didn't get specific about what homework I assign in tip 17 was because I want everybody to see the mapping of this. For me as a coach, if I'm trying to get somebody to enroll in coaching with me, I'm going to assign goal setting. I'm going to teach goal setting to show my subject matter expertise and do a little 10-minute motivational talk around my subject matter expertise within the session, right? And then I'm going to assign goal setting as the homework after I do a motivational explanation of how to set goals the smart way. But if I'm a real estate agent, the homework I may assign is the 4-step process of arriving at must-haves and deal breakers.
Yeah.
You've seen me explain that before, Sue, right? It's like if I want somebody to hire me as their real estate agent, I'll say, hey, here's your homework. Make a list of everything that would be ideal about your new home. Then go back and asterisk the must-haves. Like, Jeff, don't even show me a home that doesn't have these must-haves. Now, don't even email me the pictures if it doesn't have these must-haves. These are all the things that are ideal, but if it doesn't have these things, don't even cloud my inbox. And then make a list of things that are not ideal, but then put an asterisk by the deal breakers, meaning, Jeff, that even if it has everything on the must-haves, if it has anything from this, don't even send me the pictures. Must-haves and deal breakers. And if you can get disciplined about what the must-haves and deal breakers are, I'll be more than happy to represent you, because now we won't go down rabbit holes and wild goose chases, and we'll always be able to stay rooted in this. It has all the must-haves, none of the deal breakers. What's preventing you from making an offer? If you do your homework, I'll be more than happy to represent you. It's the same thing. I'm trying to let everybody know everything I'm teaching a coach about how to build a coaching practice and how to deliver that high-level service in a very, very, very trust-dependent service, right? Life service professionals, mortgage brokers, financial advisors, real estate agents, insurance, right? You don't just, it's not an impulse purchase by the side of the register. You're not checking out at the local convenience store and say, oh yeah, throw in a coach for 12 sessions. Like it's like a nail clipper or something. We're selling something different, and it requires, so all of this maps to all of those professions. I hope everybody understands. So that's why I wasn't detailed about what specific homework I assign. Right? But if you're selling coaching, goal setting homework is a really good idea. But you could say, hey, spend 1 hour on this business plan template. And if you can draft some answers to this business plan template, I'll be more than happy to give you a second session. So there's tons of room for creativity from your area of expertise of any type of assignment that you can give somebody, as long as there's a relationship between doing the assignment and the 3 things they say they want different. And it's something that can be done in 30 minutes to 60 minutes, because you don't want to assign them 5 hours worth of homework in a complimentary experience, right? And something that that they're willing to be held accountable for, etc. So here, with all of that as context, here we go. Tip number 18 from the second section, enrollment or engagement, from Get A Klu and 52 for coaches, myself included, because I learn this stuff as I teach it. All right, here we go. 99% of the time, the homework I assign to a prospect in the first comp session is SMART goal setting. I briefly teach what SMART goal setting is and then assign the drafting of one SMART goal for each of the areas cut out with our scissors, right? I might be able to write an entire 10-tip section or even an entire volume of Get a Klu in 52 on SMART goal setting alone. Each of the last 2 volumes of Get a Klu in 52, and by the way, I'll pause here and say, each of the last 2 volumes, as pictured here, the original Get a Klu in 52, where the categories were accountability, communication, networking, marketing, and sales, and the entrepreneur edition I did with co-author Vipul Dayal, where all of the categories were related to being an entrepreneur, personal branding, business acumen, business ownership, leadership and influence, and work-life balance. So, all right, there they are. That was quick. Okay, so each of the last 2 volumes of Get a Klu in 52 had tips dedicated to SMART goal setting, and we have a very affordable online course that teaches SMART goal setting that includes knowing the difference between a goal and hopes, dreams, or wishes, overcoming 5 barriers to goal setting, advanced techniques to help people declare their scissors, right? The things in their life that need to be different. What is stupid about SMART goal setting and why we added an A and changed the R. When I say what is stupid about SMART goal setting, I'm saying SMART with 1 A. Why we added an A and changed the R, right? What is stupid about SMART and how to make SMART even smarter is in there. How to make SMART goals even smarter. There you go. And yep, 2 comp coaching sessions for any learner who has not had them already. So I'm pausing here to let you guys know that if you're interested, I should put the link, and maybe I'll do it next week or something like that when I have a little more time to prepare. Or you can send an email, as it says here below, to info@GetAKlu with the subject line "Get Smart" for a coupon code for 50% off our small SMART goal setting course. I think it's like $297. I think we might have a coupon code for $100 off that makes it $197. So all of that plus the 2 coaching sessions. So if you want to experience what I'm teaching here in these weekly sessions, then all of that's there for you. Let me continue reading. Meanwhile, this tip is not about how to assign goal setting as much as it is how to use the assignment of goal setting to offer and schedule a second comp session. The session you have already set their expectation for is ripe for the offering. It might sound a little like this. And so here's where I created a little dialogue, right? Where there's me and the prospect, or me and me. The homework I'm suggesting for each of the 3 areas you've scissored, example, health, relationships, career, or sales, marketing, operations, end example, is to draft an answer to this question. What is the greatest thing you could achieve in the next 3 months that by definition would represent that you have positively changed this part of your life? Make sure that your what is specific, measurable, achievable, ambitious, and rewarding. Remember, it is a draft that we will calibrate in the next session, so just do your best. Does that sound good? Does that sound clear? Right? And I'd actually say it a little more fluidly if I wasn't reading word for word. But the prospect might say, yeah, I think so. Thanks, Sue. The prospect might say, yeah, I think so. Draft 1 goal for health, 1 for relationships, and 1 for my career. Me. Yes, if you are willing to commit to that and give me permission to hold you accountable, I am willing to offer you a second comp session. Do we have a deal? I might say, like, literally, hey, if you're willing to commit to drafting 1 goal for each of those 3 areas and you're willing to let me hold you accountable, then I'm willing to give you a second complimentary session. Do we have a deal? And the prospect might say, yeah, that sounds great. Me, great. We only need to budget 60 minutes for the next session for you to get the complete sample of what coaching will be like. And then you will know if you want to proceed after that. You hear that? Then you'll know if you want to proceed after that. Reminding them about the expectation that we set that they're going to make a decision at the end of the second session. Meanwhile, I'm super excited to see what SMART goals you drafted. I recommend same time next week. Will that work? Okay, end of the role play. If I have delivered 1,000 comp sessions in my career, less than 5 have resulted in my not offering or the prospect not committing to the homework and a second session. Let me say that conversationally without reading. If I've done 1,000, less than 5 have resulted in me saying, well, that was a great comp session, but I don't think there's any reason to offer you a second session. It doesn't sound like you need any coaching, or it doesn't sound like coaching is hitting the mark for you. You've got this and this and this and this answered. We haven't in the 90 minutes been able to identify anything that you believe you need to work on. So I don't think that offering a second comp session would be viable. There may be some other service or, discussion that you're looking for, but coaching isn't it. Like less than 5. Have I said, no, I'm not offering you a second session? Or has the person said, no, I don't need a second session? Less than 5 out of 1,000, right? But otherwise, everybody says yes to the homework and agrees to a second session. Now, it's a larger percentage fail to show up to the second session, right? There's some, but everybody, most people will commit and agree, and then, then how do they show up and do they enroll? The percentages get greater. You know what I mean? Or the negative percentages get greater as you go up, right? So if I do 1,000 sessions, way more. Anyway, you understand. I'm getting mathematical, and that confuses me. I'm going to stop that. All right, here we go. If I have delivered 1,000 comp sessions in my career, less than 5 have resulted in my not offering or the prospect not committing to the homework in a second session. That doesn't mean everyone here we go. That's so funny. I didn't even read it, and I was talking. That's crazy. All right, that doesn't mean everyone shows up, and it doesn't mean everyone who shows up has done the homework. And homework or no homework, it certainly doesn't mean everyone who shows up to the second session will enroll. What it does mean is that if they do show up on time, having done their homework and ready for more coaching, you have increased your chances significantly. And now it is time to execute a very compelling second complimentary session. So this tip is about offering the second comp session and how the assignment of homework helps us offer that second session and gives us gauge and guide of how invested, how much of a prospect the prospect really is. Is the prospect likely to be a buyer, a non-buyer, a maybe buyer, or a non-buyer, right? And how much of what they can expect to be investing in are we really demonstrating for them to make it an easier decision to move forward? So what that means is the next tip, I'll just preview it, is conducting a second complimentary session. So just to be simple, we're done with comp session 1, and next week on May 12th, I'll be done with the semester at San Diego State. I'll be getting ready to turn in my keys to the police department on campus. Here's the keys. Have a nice summer. See you at the beach. Right? But we're going to start the second complimentary session. I'm going to start breaking down how we conduct complimentary session 2 and get to the place where we have no hesitation whatsoever at the end of the second session to say, all right, Sue, we did complimentary session 1 where we built some rapport. We found out what needs to be different. We assigned you some goal setting homework. And then in today's session, we showed you the anatomy of a coaching session and got you committed to taking action in your goal areas. Now, after 2.5 hours of coaching, I only have one last question for you. Do you want me to be your coach? And I mean, that's what we're working toward. That easy, that fluid, that confident, that matter of fact. Right? No hesitation, no smoke and mirrors, no wishy-washy, none of that. Just laying it out there. This is what we've done, and do you want to keep going? If so, I'm going to have to structure an enrollment conversation for you. Let's customize a program that works for you. But yes or no, do you want me to be your coach? Right? So that's what we're heading towards, and that's what we'll talk about in the next couple of tips. Sue, you're so awesome at showing up. So many of our weeks. As a matter of fact, I'm laughing at myself as I always do, that the only time you don't show up is when I screwed up the link.
That's right.
So welcome. What say you? Do you have any comments or questions about our content for today? The idea of setting up a second comp session. And of course, it's this tip, the assigning of homework, that makes it so easy to transition into scheduling the why of it all, the what to look forward to, the content, some of the content that will be in a second session. It's easier for them to visualize this second session with this homework piece. So that's what we're hoping people see, is not this tip in an isolated way, but this tip as a progression, as number 18 in the after the 17 that preceded. What say you, Sue? Any comments or questions about any of this?
Yeah, and I think my comment is more from the perspective of seeing this tip as that progression, because from experience, what I continue to learn is that when I apply these tips to the T, it gives me, as the coach working with a potential client, prospect, confidence that I'm giving them a really valuable experience. When I stray from those tips, as you suggested, it gets wishy-washy. The likelihood of them coming back diminishes so quickly. And it makes the conversation watery, comes to mind. It's not robust, and it's so much harder then to not only give them a great experience, but get the result that you want, that you're looking for as the coach. You miss out on the client. So I think from that progression perspective, yeah, it's each of these tips is key to the conversation.
And there's a couple of things here. Like, there's a difference between reading the tip, of course, right? And when I hear you speak, it's like you're acknowledging, hey, when I follow the tips, when I follow the progression, it's robust. I have better results. I get where I want to go in that relationship. And when I stray, I don't, and it's watery, etc. This is what I hear you say. But what's not said there is, why do we stray? What makes us stray? Is there a collection of things that would have us stray? First of all, how easy or hard is it to learn this and practice it? But when we talk about, do we get practice with this? Can we role play this? How many recordings are there where we can listen to these tips being executed? Can I role play this with Jeff? Can I be the coach and Jeff be the person receiving coaching? And can we turn it around? Or can I watch Jeff role play this with? Or why do I stray? If I stray, am I telling myself to stray? Of course, I'm not telling myself to stray. So why did I stray then? Right? All of those questions get answered in group mentoring. All of those questions get answered in the training, like the for pay, right? Just to be transparent, right? I'm here online free every week to promote it and to promote the profession and associate myself with people like Margot Garcia, VP of Programs for the Professional Coaches Alliance, and Dr. Tom Teague of the Professional Coaches Alliance. You guys know that I'm the VP of Communication for the Professional Coaches Alliance, and I'm dedicated to advancing the career and the profession and the viability of coaches in this world doing great things, right? And all of that's built in to everything that we're talking about here. And as I segue just briefly, as I get into some of these other banners, I found this coupon code that I was talking about for the SMART goal setting course when we were talking about assigning homework. And the homework that I usually assign when I'm enrolling people in coaching programs is the SMART goal setting. So there it is. This is the coupon TIG VIP 100 for $100 off our SMART goal setting e-course, which is study at your own pace. And it comes with all of those goodies that were outlined in the book. And here's the link for it. It's very simple URL, tigsmart.pages.entreport.net. I'll leave that up there long enough for anybody to type it in and decide if you want to get involved in our SMART goal setting course. And we're going to add more and more content to it. Once you enroll in it, we're able to keep adding more sessions. Like we do a quarterly live goal setting webinar, and we record that. We plop it in to the course. It's like a membership type of deal. So back to this difference between what we're able to do for free and in a public forum on LinkedIn Live and the social media channels, and give enough value to promote the profession. If people just watch these, hopefully there's value that you're getting from it. But for those of you that do want to deep dive, Kluba dive, for those of you who do want case studies, role plays, access to archives of over 100 group mentoring sessions that are recorded, plus that's group mentoring, right? Which I call Clues Ooze online office hours. We offer that for $100 a month. I'm about to show you guys a coupon code for half off of that. For $50 a month, you can get in, access the archives, participate in our 3 live sessions that we do every month, where we screen share to the workbook that supports the training, and we have fill in the blanks, we have role plays, case studies, we immerse, we get into it. So those are deeper dives, and then of course the actual training itself. If you want to get trained as an Integrity Game certified speaker or an Integrity Game certified coach, we could talk to you about that coursework and what's involved in getting certified to be able to speak and associate and promote the Integrity Game brand and build your coaching practice using Integrity Game content and support systems that we're building in our ecosystem right now. But it's all Get A Klu stuff. We like the Integrity Game brand very much, and that's what we're focused on in group mentoring. So let me throw that up. The 90-day challenge is not what I was talking about. This is what I was talking about, group mentoring. We do 3 live sessions every month, and we have over 100 sessions in the archives that you can tap into, and you can use the code TIGVIPGM for group mentoring 50 to get 50% off. And very simple URL there, tinyurl.com/TIGClues ooze for online office hours. So I do several online office hour sessions Sunday nights. Online office hours is for my students in my COM 406 class, but the 3 sessions that I do during the month, Clues Ooze, that's for dedicated to the integrity game. I could open up Clues Ooze for public speaking or Clues Ooze for soft skill training, right? But right now, Clues Ooze is dedicated to this content, learning this, being able to speak this fluently, being able to role play this, practice this, drop in and listen to other people working this material, this content, being vulnerable with each other, really diving deep and bringing real world coaching and consulting and personal professional growth issues into the environment, and everybody interact around real case study material, etc. So enough about that. Sue, let's ask what other comments or questions might you have around today's tip, which is to schedule the second COM session. Of course, I'm constantly referring back to how this previous tip, assigning homework, makes tip number 18 of scheduling the second complimentary session so valuable, so strong. In the process, of course, on our way to enrolling prospects into coaching programs, turning prospects into clients.
I think the more specific, well, it just links so nicely back into the previous tip of the homework, but that role play little conversation that you've got there.
Like the sample of how it might go.
Yeah, right? Yeah. The more, not so much scripted, but the more that you can stick with that, the easy, I just keep coming back to, the easier it is. And just working with the framework that you offer in these tips makes such a difference.
Yeah, when you see it in workbook format, it even makes more sense because you can kind of see the outline of it. This is a literature, right? Tip to tip text paragraphs, but we can diagram this. We can create a cheat sheet on how to on the order of these steps, because what I wouldn't want people to confuse or get mistaken about is when you say stick to it, I wouldn't want anybody thinking that they're stuck to anything. You're right. In other words, it's very important to understand the freedom within this framework, that these tips are not word for word dialogues that need to be memorized and executed like a robot, independent of your own personality, your own language style, your own phraseology and authentic rhythms, right? So to me, like, this is the example that I give. What is this right here, Sue? What is this?
6.
Okay. This is my objective. This is what I need to get to, right? But I could say 5 plus 1. I could say 4 plus 2. I could say 3 times 2. I could see 10 minus 4. I could see 60 divided by 10. 100 minus 94. Half a dozen. So I know that this is the objective I need to get at, but I need to remember that I can get there so many different ways as long as I get there. And so when we see these tips, not in terms of I have to stick to this and say this, like, we didn't put a dialogue in here so you memorize this exact dialogue and try to say it as if you're me.
Not a script. Yeah.
What we're saying, what we want you to get to is, do you get agreement that they're going to do homework and schedule and show up to a second session? Now, however you get that agreement, cool. But stick to getting that agreement. Don't move on without getting that agreement. However you get the agreement is fine, right? Like, don't move on before you build rapport. However you get rapport is fine, but don't move on until you believe you're in rapport and they believe you're in rapport, right? However you get answers to what needs to be different, fine. We're just recommending scissor, but however you do it. But, like, in other words, get rapport, find out what needs to be different. Demonstrate your subject matter expertise, assign homework, and schedule the second session. Get to those objectives however you get there. But where most coaches make the mistake in the complementary coaching is the first problem that emerges. They coach anything that moves, and they want to coach and resolve and solve that issue for the person, and that's where it falls apart. Because now you're coaching the person for free rather than giving a sample of coaching so they can decide to enroll. Right?
Yeah. You've lost your objective.
You got it. Right. So the session becomes out of integrity. If you say, look, I'm going to give you a sample complimentary coaching session for the purpose of sampling how coaching works. That means that I'm not going to coach you. I'm going to give you a sample of how coaching. So that's what we mean when we say stick to it, is stick to the sampling, stick to the progression that puts somebody in a position to understand everything that you have to show them. It's like, I'm going to take you on a tour, but you can't take somebody on a tour if you're, say, sit down and let me bandage your leg. You can't take them on a tour of the hospital if you like sit down and bandage their leg in the waiting room. And that's a weird example, but you understand what I'm trying to get at. All right. So last call, comments, questions.
And the more you practice it, the easier it is, and the more it flows, and the more applications you find.
Well, as special as coaching is, based on what you just said, coaching is no different from anything else. Riding a bike, cooking, whatever. My 10-year-old son, Brody, is beating me in chess left and right. I remember it was like 6 months ago, he couldn't beat me at all. And now he can beat me 2 out of 3 matches. Like like he beat me once, like I would say, oh, fluke. He's starting to beat me now, fluke. And then I just, all right, 2 out of 3. Every time we play, Brody, it's 2 out of 3. Well, the last time we played 2 out of 3, he beat me 2-0. I didn't even. It gets easier. It gets easier to beat the old man. All right. So here we are. Get a clue in 52 for coaches, myself included. I'll say this 1,000 times before I leave this planet, at least, that if you want to learn something really well, endeavor to teach it to somebody else. And boy, will you learn it really good at that point. All right. Thank you, Sue, for always being so supportive and such a great participant and interacting with me. We'll see you next week. Mwah. All right. Good night, everyone. Take care. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Bye.